3, 2, 1. YouTubers. Let's talk about my life from the start. Just a little like how it led up to now, where I came from, you know, like I obviously wasn't from a privileged place. Did a lot of jail, and now I have galleries all around the world, you know, represented all over the world. Been in newspapers, fucking TV, fucking whatever, magazines, all that shit, you know, even internationally, on TV and in magazines and stuff. So it's pretty interesting, you know, and it just goes to show that people can turn their life around and you can come from nothing, you know. I've been homeless multiple times. I've been so hungry that I've been laying on the floor in hours in pain because I was so fucking hungry. Like that's, you know, and going from that to fucking eating whatever I like, making sure whatever I like, making sure that my children have everything and that they're well looked after, and that, you know, I set up a future for them. So if anything happens to me, like, yeah, they're gonna be well off. They're gonna be set. They're not gonna have to worry about the things I went through or go through the things I went through. And hopefully they don't meet boys like I was at that stage in my life, you know, or the addiction, or the crime, the gangs, the violence. And it's just, you know, although it led me to a path of where I am now, imagine I had all this good focus from the start and didn't spend 13 years in jail. Like 13 years invested in a good place, in a good life, because I'm pretty intelligent. So I don't think that I wouldn't be doing as well as I am now, you know. I feel like I could probably be doing better. It might be in a different field, but who knows? Whatever, you know, family's most important. So you work that out at some point in life, you know. Something just clicks and you're like, holy shit, you know, like all these fuckwits, all these dickheads that I've been hanging around and that don't care about me and that you've been trying to impress, like there's real ones to impress. And who gives a fuck about your life and your legacy and whatever else, you know, because at the end of the day, you want that for your children, not for yourself. Once you have children and you feel that love, like that parental love, wow, fucking eye-opening. Anyway, I was born in Villawood. I was about to say when I'm 0. I was thinking what age was I? But yeah, I was 0. So from day 0, at day 0, I was born in Villawood. I was born in a house. I was the only one in my family born in a house. My mum wanted to do a home birth, and then I had 2 older sisters born in hospitals, then me, then my brother. She was born in a hospital as well. She must have decided that wasn't that fun. Let's go back to hospital. I had my mum and dad around, you know, at that time anyway. Yeah, so it was a green house, 80 Luana Street. If you just want to Google map that. I don't know if it's still green. It might be. I know I drove past there years ago and it was still green. Well, at 1, my dad got fired. I forget the word for it. You know, when they let you go and they give you a pay because you're not only employee, like you have a contract with them, you know, that you have a job and whatever else. So yeah, he's fired. They gave him a little payout. He bought a house in Guildford. Oh shit, that scared the shit out of me. I'm gonna leave that in. What the fuck? I just fixed that because the window. Holy shit. Alright guys. Fuck. That's how much wind comes here. Let's just leave that in. I don't like editing anyway. So yeah, painting just fell on my fucking head. Was that a sign? I don't know what kind of sign. I'm already an artist, but yeah. Anyway, donk. That actually scared me for real. So yeah, back to my mum and dad. Dad bought a house. Houses were cheap back then, you know. I think maybe the house was 80 grand. He paid 40. 12 months later, because this was through BHP, they must have had like a thing and they had to let heaps of people go, paid them off. Anyway, 12 months later, he got his job back. Worked there for the next fucking, how long, 30, 40 years? He only just retired this year. So yeah, he was a big manager there at BHP. When we were younger, he wasn't, he's just loading trains and, you know, just worked his way up in the company, as you do. If you want to be successful and you want to invest a little bit of extra time to make sure that you're set at the end of your life, which really you should do, you know. I know it's hard when you're young, but yeah, we'll get to that. Anyway, at 1, I don't remember these stages of my life, obviously, but at 1, moved to Guildford West, Wisdom Street. So that's a rough area, you know, and you don't know that growing up. To you, that's just life. Like, life's just life. Wherever you grow up. I guess if you grow up in the North Shore, like my mum grew up in Manly, then to Mount Druitt when her parents split. But, you know, my dad grew up in Mount Druitt, and I guess that's where they met. But to him, that life was normal. To her, that life was new, and it's probably, oh shit, we're moving out to the bad areas and that. But for me, like, Guildford was Guildford. I had friends, I was happy, you know. I just thought it was a normal way of life. I knew we weren't rich, you know, I knew we weren't rich. We didn't really have that much treats, always had holes in my shoes and fucking, you know, barely bought new clothes and that. Like, it was a big thing buying new clothes and stuff like that. And I think I got a few dollars a month. I might have got like 50 cents or $1.50 or something to sweep the hallways each week. So, you know, pocket money. And then your week, my nan would send us like a monthly money that would come in the mail, and we'd be excited for that because that means we could buy a toy. And when it would come, we'd all be like, yep. Sometimes we'd have to save for 2 months to get a G.I. Joe or something, you know, which I think they were like $7, and we get $5. And when you turn 13, you get $10. But the corps, they're like fake G.I. Joes, were like $3. So you could either buy one of them or you could wait another month and buy another one. So we didn't have, you know, excessive amounts of toys like I guess kids do these days. It was just, yeah, but it was good, you know, like you play outside and you do things and you're always doing things with your family. And I remember being starving and that, like as a kid. I remember, this is one thing that affected me a bit, like seeing all the kids at school with their lunch boxes, and I never had a lunch box and never had food, you know, that was pretty fucked. Never had, like rarely, you know, sometimes maybe once a month or once a term, like 4 or 5 times a year, we'd get a couple of dollars to spend at the canteen, which would be like $2 or something. So I couldn't ever get, like, they had these little lasagna things. I think they were like $4, $4.50. I could never afford that. It was always $2. So it was always like a paddle pop and you know, a chomp bar or something, or maybe a can of drink. And yeah, so it was never any good food. I think I maybe got a hot lunch like 2 or 3 times in my whole primary school, which was like, you know, I'd see my mate get every day. And I had a really good friend, Samoan friend, that he'd actually give me some of his every now and then. He'd be like, oh, here, Nathan, you want it, you know, because he'd get it every day. He'd have lasagnas every day and all this stuff, you know, but it is what it is, you know. My family weren't that rich. So yeah, it was, you know, my daughter never, like, she goes with one of those Wogs lunch boxes now, you know, with everything in there, you know. Like, she's got everything in her lunch box, yeah. It's filled up, treats, fucking snacks, fruit, like a proper lunch sandwich and whatever else, you know, popper. Like, it's just packed with choices. Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. Even halfway through school, I remember I'd take a bag, but even my books wouldn't get filled up. I was that kind of kid, you know. They learn that now about different types of learning, but I was never a write it down type of learner. For me to write shit down, I'd have to be focusing on writing. So then I wouldn't know what I'm writing. Like, I'm writing it, but it's going out of my head just as fast because I'm writing it. But for the teacher to stand there and, oh, you know what I mean? Like 12 times 12 is 144. So looking at that and then doing it in my head, now I've got it, you know. Writing it down doesn't mean shit. So school was a bit hard. I'd always be in trouble, always fighting and stuff like that. You know, I rode a bike when I was a kid. I rode skateboard. I remember I got thrown up against a tree in kindergarten. That was sort of the first time that I'd been hit or anything like that, you know. And I ended up getting back later in life, which we'll get to later. But you know, I held on to that for a lot of years. I even became best friends with him for years. Used to do a lot with this kid, but always in the back of my head, I remembered that because from that point on, my dad took me boxing. So I don't know how old you are in kindergarten, maybe 6 or 7, but yeah, it took me boxing. I was already playing rugby league for Guildford Owls. I think I started there when I was, you know, I think they had under 7s or something, so I would have been 6 or 5. And my brother started at the same time. So he was playing in my team, and I think we were both young for the team, so we both spent a couple of years in the under 6s or 7s. I think they got 6s now, but that was 7s. That's the kind of stuff I was into as a kid. Just normal fucking Aussie stuff, you know. None of my family were criminals. My 2 older sisters played netball, we played football. Then they had winters. My brother played cricket and shit. My sister played softball. I didn't actually play anything in the summer sports. I used to just do boxing with my dad. Yeah, I'd always been in trouble at school, but Guildford West, they had a policy like they don't expel kids, so I'd just be on detention all the fucking time, sitting on that white line in the heat. Like, you got to sit on this line in the heat. Doesn't matter if the sun's on you, you got to sit on that line. Yeah, but it was a good school. Played soccer for the school. They didn't have rugby league there. They didn't like that because, you know, a little bit of violence or whatever. It's a little bit aggressive, a little bit physical. At 10, I remember they had a book club at school. And that was another thing we never got, you know. Like, sometimes there'd be a book club and we might get $3 or something. And so you'd have to pick, you know, like, most books are over $3. So you got to pick from, like, 5 things, like, you know, but you can buy something. So it was like, you'd be excited because these other kids, you know, they'd rock up with a $20 note and fucking buy 5 books and you can finally buy a book. But you also appreciate things like that, you know. And sometimes I even feel it now. I look at people with nothing, or look at people with, you know, real dirty or shitty shoes, like they're fresh, and I just think, fuck, man, I feel so bad for them. And I think because I know what it's like looking at people with good stuff and not having that good stuff, so I just, I always want to help people now. And it's fucked, you know, and I can't because I got my children. So I made this rule, and I made it a New Year's resolution a couple of years ago, that none of my money goes to anyone because it's my daughter's. So now when people ask me for stuff, I don't. I give a lot to charity. I just, on the weekend, just did one. They sold it for a few $1,000s painting, you know, and that's easy for me. I can do a painting, they get a few $1,000s, cost me barely anything, and they get a lot, you know, for medical research, which was the one on the weekend. But anyway, before we get to that, so we moved to Wentworthville. And that was a kid full of street full of kids. Not a kid full of street, but a street full of kids, eh? So many boys too. Like, there was me and my brother, and we had our neighbours. Tim and Maddie, Jason and Victor were like a few doors up that way. Then Raymond and Mark and Rob were up that end of the street. Not up that end of the street, but like 6-7 doors up. Up the end of the street were some Lebo boys in the units. And then right down that end of the street were a couple of groups. There was a few girls and a couple of boys, but it was like 3 groups in our street. It's a big street, Stapleton Street at Wentworthville, which goes into Pendle Hill, but we're sort of like on the border. So Rob and Mark and Raymond, they were in Pendle Hill, and then we were like 5 houses down from Pendle Hill, like just in Wentworthville, just on the border. And we used to hang around the park. Shit, we did. You know, I ended up fighting with all of them, I think. I think I had a fight with every single kid there, except for Maddie. Maddie was very quiet, but the rest, I always fought with them. I was the one kid that always fought, you know, and I think I just had bad communication, and I'd always get jealous too, because people would get along so well and they'd be friends and they'd be carrying on, and I'd be very shy. And I see it in my daughter now, you know, and like, it's a little bit hard, but I sort of know what she's feeling, and I can understand her a bit better. When I was younger, it was just all like, oh, Nathan's going off, Nathan's frustrated, Nathan's angry. And it was just like, just leave him, he'll be right, he'll work it out. And I just get left on my own, you know. But it was just, I just didn't know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to be friends with people. I was very shy, I was very nervous. I was very, like, I'd get embarrassed just to talk. Like, I'd start talking and I'd go red. Like, hi, how are you? Like, hi, I'm Nathan. And automatically I'm thinking they think I'm an awkward cunt or something like that, you know. So that's why I think I just lashed out a lot and just fought a lot. And when I'd do that, you know, I'd get attention because I'd been boxing for years already as a young kid. My dad took me there, so people would be like, oh, Nathan can fight, you know, oh, you're a mad fighter, all this. And then I'd get attention for that. So that was my key to being friends with everyone, which I thought was being friends, but I guess people probably just didn't want to get on my wrong side. I like painting as a kid because I'm an artist now. Not really, you know, I told kids at school that I was going to go to jail, and I thought I'd do at least 5 years. So I was always told people I was going to go to jail. I told people I was going to be a gangster, and I told people I was going to be an actor as well. That's another thing. I'd say I'd be famous, but I always thought I'd be famous for acting, which I haven't acted. But if you watch some of my things, I do little skits and that, so I guess I am an actor, self-employed actor. Yeah, anyone can be an actor now. Just do a skit and you're an actor, bro. But yeah, so you got them little things, you know. I guess they're panning out to be true, and some kids it happens for. I don't know if I had an intuition or if I was psychic or if I just fucking, everyone from the area goes to jail, so that was common sense, you know. And I guess if enough people say, oh, I'm going to be famous, everyone says they're going to be famous as a kid, then the ones that are doesn't make you psychic. I guess everyone just wants to be famous as a kid. But yeah, I'll get there one day, you know. I'm on my way there now. I guess I've got over 100,000 followers on all my channel, 150 actually, on my free channels. Good thing about that is that they're all different channels. My TikTok, my YouTube are more similar than my Instagram, but they are, you know, they're all different channels. So it's good that I've got a good following on all of them for free different sorts of channels. Yeah, life did get hard at times, you know, just so I used to run away a lot. My dad was never there, so I was the oldest boy in the house. And I'll just tell you a story. Before I got into gangs and stuff, like, you know, I had a gang at school called the Gremlins. Like, that's not a gang, you know. Stapleton Street boys, we called ourselves, you know, like, as if we're gonna live our life in Stapleton Street and be boys forever, like, just fucking weird shit like that, you know, throwing balloons at cops and shit. But I guess the first time I really noticed that, you know, I had the potential to be really violent was when I was going from year 6 to year 7. I had this plan, and I guess it was like going to jail. People think you have to have a fight. So I just had this image in my head that I was going to have a fight, right? And Moody toujours. So Moody toujours, we had an argument at the orientation the year before when we were both in year 6, and you come up to the school and they talk to you, whatever, you go to high school next year. So we had an argument. I was telling him to shut the fuck up. He's telling me to sit down. And so we had this little argument. And I thought after the thing, I walked out, he wasn't around. And I thought, all right, I'm going to fight this guy when I get to school. My thing in my head was, I'm going to bite his face off. Then no one's going to want to fight me. So Street Fighter was out then. You know, Blanca jumps on their face and starts biting them. That's the image I had in my head. And, you know, I was committed to that. And I know that later in life, I always committed things I thought of, I did. So, you know what, if that happened, I probably would have done it. And I just thought, no one's going to fuck with the kid that bites your face off. You know what I mean? Like, fucking ruthless. Yeah, that's the kind of shit I had going through my head at that age. And, you know what, like, I used to scare. It's like, you laugh at me or you call me a dickhead or something, and I just fucking, you know, that them kids that go and they got their hands go down like, you know what I mean, and you get that really high pitched voice. That's what I was, that kid, you know. But I'd have the like squeaky, like high pitched voice, and I would just pick shit up and start fucking throwing it and fucking trying to grab people and just trying to hurt anyone, you know. So that, you know, and that could just happen like that, bang. Glad I got that under control now. Like, yeah, it's not as bad as when I was a kid. Obviously, people get angry and they go off, you know, and I can say some terrible things and stuff, but I do have that control. Like, when it's a girl, I know I can't hit them. It's a kid, I can't hit them. Like, I don't go off at kids, but, like, so there's differences. There's like a bloke, very hard for me to stop myself from hitting them, you know. A woman, I can stop myself from hitting them, but as for the verbal stuff, once I click, oh, yeah, fuck off, you fucking, you know. So, yeah. And it's not one way. I don't just click over nothing. Like, it's obviously a two-way argument, but I just probably yell a bit louder. But then a kid, like, yeah, I have that complete control where I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to scream. Like, I'll just be like in my head, I'm like, like, you know, roll my eyes and shit and just get really frustrated. But so obviously I can control it, and I'm aware of who's in front of me and stuff, because, yeah, I'm not going to hit a kid, I'm not going to hit a woman, I'm not going to scream at a kid. So there's like them levels, you know, but there's still that point of, if it's a man, how do I control myself? Because that's when pride comes in. That's when, like, I guess as a male, you've got that testosterone and, you know, that dominance and that alpha bullshit. And it's all just bullshit at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I'd rather be like Jim Carrey and laugh and smile and fucking just be a complete goofball and have fun with life than, you know, like, just bash people. And as a kid and as an adult, like, when I did, like, that was my ultimate power. Like, sex, anything. Didn't get as much pleasure from it as I did from knocking someone out. Like, that was, like, that power, that when I dominate someone was like, you know, it overtook me, and that was my favorite thing in the world to do, was fight. Or, you know, like, yeah, or put holes in people. Like, I just thought it was like, you know, I just thrived on that. Yeah, but anyway, as a kid, yeah. So as a young kid, like, apart from them skitzing out and stuff, I guess another time, yeah, this guy, my sister had a party, and they threw fucking rocks at this guy's house, and I was like, fuck, what are you doing, man? Because we live there, you know. This guy chases us in the car, and then I told these people off. I'm the one that ended up getting the fucking most from it too, and I told everyone, what are you doing, bruh? All this shit, you know. This dude comes out with a fucking crossbow and starts chasing us. Days later, I'm sitting out the front. I stole a scalpel from art class at school. and I was sitting out the front, right, and I just had it like next to me. This dude pulls up as me and my sister are sitting there, pulls straight into our driveway looking at us. He's like, come here. And I'm thinking, what the fuck, you know? Like, this guy had a gun and a crossbow. I'm pretty sure he had a gun. I know he had a crossbow, but he also had a bag with something heavy in it that was small. And I'm pretty sure it was a handgun. And he's calling us over to the window. I was like, fuck, I'm like, stay there to my sister. She's my older sister, but I was like, I'm like, fuck, I'll shit myself, but I have to do this. I'm just gonna go bang in his face, you know? So I grabbed the scalpel, I start to walk over. And this was like such a blessed time because my mum and dad were apart, like divorced, whatever. He got back with my mum for a couple of months and he was there at this time, like by fluke, by chance. And as I'm walking over to this bloke, my dad walks out and this guy starts reversing. I look and my dad's walking down the stairs. So he shit himself, took off, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? Like, if he wasn't here or 5 seconds later, I can bang. I was putting holes in his face. So I knew I was like committed. It didn't matter how scared I was, especially when it came to protecting my family. I'm gonna stand in front of him. I'm gonna do what I have to do, you know? Yeah. Other than that, something else that happened as a kid, like traumatic shit, you know, a lot of traumatic shit. Climbing up the soccer post. Fucking crazy, right? So I'm 6 years old, 7 years old, climbing up the soccer post at, sorry about that. Sometimes I twitch and I have to make my shit even. If you watch my channel a while, you know about it, sorry. Climbing up the soccer post, they've got these little hooks that they put the net on, and then this pole that we slide down that holds the net, you know, and they used to be like that, and that's how a soccer net would be. Lucky it was a netball day, right? And the fucking St. John's ambulance was there. Anyway, I'm climbing up these hooks, following my sister and sliding down this pole. Climbing up, my foot slips, I start to fall, so I let go of the pole because you want to drop straight down, not swing back into the pole because you're holding on to it. As soon as I let go, right, these hooks are like this, right? Blunt as my fucking pinky. I drop, it hits from below my sack, balls, right? Rips through there, through my entire sack, halfway up my thing as well. Like ruthless. It was about that long. No. They chopped this much off, which was about a quarter of it. No. But anyway, it went right through, right? Fucking shredded me. I was hanging by this hook. Like this. Boom. Right there. So yeah, I've got a good pain tolerance now after that. Anyway, a lady come that was at the carnival. I remember she grabbed me. As soon as she grabbed me, I just, boom, passed out from the pain. So obviously excruciating pain. Like I've had broken bones. I broke my back. I did not pass out. This, I passed out. Like, as soon as someone touched me, my body was like, yep. Anyway, the guy come up, St. John's ambulance, unhooking me, trying to unhook me off, you know, like I got a fucking hook that's holding me up through my balls, shaft, everything, you know. So I can only imagine how this guy was trying to get me off. He's probably thinking, what the fuck? He would have just had to grab everything and do his best, you know. He would have been petrified too. Imagine trying to get a kid off a hook that's going through his fucking entire ball sack and shaft, like. So anyway, I remember waking up to that and screaming, like just like, ah. So yeah, whatever he was doing was hurting me, and you know, it probably horrified him too. He probably still remembers it. So if you know that bloke, he's probably told people about it, I'm sure. Yeah, that was me. Anyway, they take me back to the thing. They give me something that knocked me out, which was so lucky they were there. Imagine I had to wait for an ambulance to come and people would just hold me on the hook or some shit, you know. Woke up in hospital. Like, they took me in, they kept me out the whole time. Did surgery and that. I woke up in a hospital bed, which was probably the next day, to be honest. They tried to do microsurgery. Imagine how scared my mum would be and that. Like, my dad, everyone, like my family thinking, holy shit, like, he just had a hook through him. Like, not like a blunt hook, like proper blunt hook. Like, just like your pinky, curved. Like, that's how blunt it was. Fucking ruthless, eh? Anyway, they wanted to chop my things off, which means I'd never have kids. And now I have 2 daughters that are mine. You know, I have stepdaughters, but I've got 2 daughters that are my blood. So it's kind of crazy that my mum, like, absolutely refused them. She's like, no. And my mum's the type of person, she'll fight for that, you know. Some other people would be like, just say, as long as he's okay, you know. There's some people like that. My mum's like, no, you save it, you know. Like, she wants grandkids, you know. Mum wants grandkids. But good on her. Yeah. fuck yeah. So yeah, that was fucking nuts. I had to stand there in a little tub and get washed while my brother and sister stood there awkwardly laughing at me. I remember that. Yeah, fucking some crazy shit happened to me as a kid. You know, I can't get through it all now because I have someone who's going to help me write a book and stuff. He wants to help me. I could do like subjects, you know, and I've got witnesses to everything because I know a lot of people, they probably haven't lived a life as chaotic as mine. I'm sure they haven't, you know, but someone has to live it. And I'm sure there's people that have lived lives like way more chaotic than mine, you know. Like imagine living in a war-torn country. Like imagine all the shit that's going on there. So my life's probably not that hectic. Maybe for where I grew up, it might be. But yeah, so we'll get to the next episode next. That's my childhood as a kid and sort of going up to my teenage years, high school and stuff. So we'll get to that next time. But make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, do all the stuff that supports the channel. My memberships will be back on in a few days, so please become a member to support the channel. I will be getting someone to come out and video training videos and that for my members only, doing some backstage stuff for my members only, some lives only for my members only. It's just supporting the channel, you know, like fucking, I think the cheapest one's like $1 a week or something, so it would be much appreciated. A lot of this stuff does not get monetized. You can go now.